this is Kermit the Frog.
Fascinating.
I'm Captain Kirk.
Magic is always there, as long as we keep looking for it.
Engage.
What does God need with a starship?
Thank you, love you. Mwah.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Places, please. And here we go.
Down at Fraggle Rock.
Welcome, Doozers, Gorgs, Trash Heaps, Dabroon, and Things to episode 148 of the MuppeTrek Podcast. I'm Jarman.
And I'm Steve. We are on a journey across the stars to compare, contrast the creative worlds of Jim Henson and Gene Roddenberry.
What started as reviews of The Muppet Show and Star Trek the original series has expanded into outer space.
And this week we have Fraggle Rock episode Boober Rock and Star Trek The Next Generation episode Emissary.
Do you just think of boobs every time you hear the word boober? I do.
Only this week, but now I don't know if I'm not going to be able to think about it. So thanks for that one.
But before we talk about boobs and boober, Steve, I think I want to rock.
There are all kinds of gems, jewels, and geodes in the world, many of which can be found in Fraggle Rock. This week's gem is Bytown Night.
Ooh.
I don't have much on this. I watched a little video. So there are more than 6,000 gems.
Damn.
That exist, like minerals that exist. But in trade shows and those sort of things, you are only going to see between 200 and 300. Because the fact of the matter is, many, many gems or minerals that have been discovered are only viewable like under a microscope. Nothing that you will ever see in your life or can ever really see in your life. So we're getting to some real obscure ones, guys, with very little information. And Bytown Night is one of them. That's your first factoid. There's no facts about it. It was first discovered in Bytown, Canada for Sean Vanderloo. This was later renamed Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but Bytown before that, it comes in these yellows and almost gold. Some of them are very almost luminescent, just beautiful. But clear and then cleavable gems are extremely rare because they only break like one direction well. They don't cut the other way well. Commercially, though, they are used to strengthen glass as well as in the production of fiberglass. And in some cases, their formations are simply broken down to get at the sweet, sweet aluminum inside of them, since they love hanging out underground. So sometimes Bytown Night is literally just crushed and destroyed because they want to get at the aluminum.
It's a byproduct, basically.
Yeah, in some cases, it is a byproduct. But that is Bytown Night, and that rocks.
And that's probably not the way you pronounce it. It's probably some Canadian way of saying
Bytown
it.
Night.
But Bytown Night. Oh, yeah.
Bytown Night, eh.
That's how you pronounce it properly. And you said there's 3,000. Are you going alphabetical order here?
What? I'm going in alphabetical order. But once again, there are like 6,000 things. We're on the B's, right? We're at the end of the B's.
But there aren't that many Fraggle Rock episodes, so we're only going to get to like, what, the D's?
Yeah. But what I'm realizing is that most gems are real rare.
Yeah.
Like there's not a ton of them. There's not a lot of like rock enthusiasts online.
It's just a shame we won't get to the Z's, because.
Well, here's the other thing. There are some that have tons of facts about them, but they're very, very sciencey, and I very much don't understand them.
So you might skip those or something.
Or I just pull the bodies from the fire I can.
That's fair.
But yeah, they're like, its chemical composition is similar to bitronite, which is filled with phosphates instead of... And I'm like, nope.
Boring.
No.
Well, fair enough. I think we definitely rocked it.
We did. Play that Love Boat again. Yeah.
There we go.
I kind of miss that.
I do too.
I've been listening to early episodes, and I just listened to the one where you were like, we need to get a Love Boat button.
That's right.
You mentioned it so many times. We need to get it.
And then we got one.
And then we got it.
Well, eventually one of these guest stars is going to be a Love Boat person. I mean, eventually.
I mean, I could just start looking at that. So maybe I'll start working it in.
Yeah, please do.
To Trek Connection. But what the hell's up this week in Fraggle Rock? Well, what's up, Doc? Doc and Sprocket are at odds ends. They're bumping into each other in the workshop, and Doc has had it. He literally draws a line with a piece of rope. Sprocket is dismayed when his dog treats are on Doc's side of the shop, and Doc is pissed when his blueprints are on Sprocket's half. And Sprocket growls at him and sends him away. Doc and Sprocket both come to a tentative freedom agreement, trading biscuits for blueprints, but when they go to make the exchange, they end up cuddling over the boundary line.
Aww.
Doc is about to take it down, seemingly learning his lesson, but then he decides he needs to hang up his laundry instead. Down in Fraggle Rock, Red is coaching the next generation of Fraggles on how to say whoopee, whoopee, whoopee. But between Doozer noise and Red's antics and Moki's poems, Boober has had it. He stumbles upon Gobo and Wembley, who are looking through old maps. They find the Cave of Boredom, which sparks Boober's imagination about a quiet place without all these distractions. Red callously knocks over Boober. His scarf is scuffed, and that is the final straw. Boober goes to live in the Cave of Boredom for some nice peace and quiet. Boober finds the caves. They're filled with beautiful flowers. He whistles a little tune, I'm Never Alone, relishing in being by himself. He makes a little divider arm from old Fraggle Rock to what he calls Boober Rock. And then he realizes that he's kind of forgotten his friends' names. Gobo and Moki head to find Boober. When we get Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard while they're walking, Uncle Traveling Matt relishes in the fact that silly creatures are much more like doozers than he thought. They head underground and they wait for a traveling thing that screams as it passes them, and he actually passes out from the excitement. Gobo and Moki make it to Boober Rock. Boober reveals that he doesn't really remember them. They head back to the rock to get the others. Gobo can't remember Uncle Traveling Matt's story, so he goes to the storyteller with Red and Moki. We get to see the storyteller Fraggle again. Meanwhile, Wembley goes to find Boober on his own. But Wembley gets there and they both just completely forget what they're doing. Elsewhere, the storyteller fills in Gobo on the caves of boredom and reveals that her and Uncle Traveling Matt had some sort of romantic tryst in the past. She tells them that the caves were once called the Caves of Forgetfulness. She suggests that they make a list of things that they want to remember because people that go in there forget. Wembley and Boober sing the remembering song to help them remember, but they forget more and more of the lyrics as they get more and more confused. In the background, we see a mysterious vine begin to grow with their confusion, reaching out for them. Wembley literally forgets how to walk. The vines begin to wrap around him. Gobo, Moki, and Red come back, but they forget how to read. Boober finally snaps out of it, finds a list, and creates a concoction in his laundry bucket that blows like fumes up and clears his head. The stench clears Wembley's head too. They go and rescue the others and escape from Boober Rock back to Fraggle Rock. And that's what's going down in Fraggle Rock. Charmin, what did you think of this episode, Boober Rock?
I think you missed a whole sub-story that was very important. The Doozers making one construction.
I did miss the Doozer plot line.
The plot line
of them building something and then part of it getting knocked down and then going, yay, now we get to rebuild it again.
I know, I love that so much. It's like, we get to do it again. I just love it. They're never upset about that. But yeah, I liked having a Boober-centric episode for once. We don't get many of those. Pretty cool.
That's true.
The songs are really cute, and I particularly liked what you mentioned, like the song of them forgetting as they're singing the song, and the music kind of stutters too. It's like that was
plotting
amazing.
With them as they find the tune.
Exactly, that was really creative. Like I've just never seen something like that before. It's great. I was gonna say that I think if those flowers weren't making them forget stuff, I think Boober would have been super happy forever in the Caves of Boredom. Like he would never go back.
Oh yeah. That was his perfect place.
It's his utopia. It's like, oh, it's quiet. I can wash my clothes. No one bothers me. He's like the Eeyore of the show, basically.
He really is.
And that
every show needs an Eeyore.
That's right. And this, I loved Doc and Sprocket just having that cuddle moment. It was wholesome and adorable. Like they really love each other. But what'd you think of the episode?
I really enjoyed it. Had good movement, had good pacing. Sometimes Fraggle Rock drags a little bit, and I felt like there was always sort of one thing right after another. I love the reveal with the storyteller and Uncle Traveling Matt having definitely Fraggle boned at some point.
He was so romantic.
I liked all the musical numbers. I love the one with Boober, where he was all alone. That's just a great. Oh yeah, and it was one of the longer numbers we've ever seen in Fraggle Rock, for that matter.
And it didn't get boring.
I love the plants. They were just a cool thing, and they weren't super aggressive, which I kind of liked. They weren't Fraggle eating plants necessarily.
Slowly eating Fraggles.
They just sort of like took over as their memories went. And a cool fact, when we went to see that giant puppet stage show thing of Fraggle Rock, they went to the Caves of Forgetfulness.
Oh, cool. Wow.
But in that one, the flowers and the vines sing and move.
Oh, wow.
In the stage.
I wonder if it comes back, and that's why they would bother recreating that.
Maybe. But that's the thing. The storyteller was there, so it's just one of those things I forgot existed. Yeah. So now I go, oh my God, I could have had so much more context for Fraggle Rock Live. I think that there are other episodes that are more outstanding than this that strike deeper notes. But I really have to give this one for the pacing. It really did well. It really felt like a short episode. There was good movement in the episode. We didn't get a trash heap,
No gore.
That's the downside. We didn't really get a doozer.
Well, yeah, there's been less doozers before.
We didn't get gorgs. But typically when we don't doozers, we got gorgs or trash heap. This we had nothing. So I don't know. I think this is like a middling to high episode for me. I don't think it's ever going to peak into that upper echelon, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it fits well in something that upset us in the past, that episodes didn't feel like a Fraggle Rock episode. This one has the feel of a wholesome, fun, upbeat, good lesson. Like it was cute, and like that's like exactly what I'd show somebody a typical episode of Fraggle Rock. I'd show them one like this. But you're right, it's not like a standout episode, but it's just like, oh, it was great. That was a great Fraggle Rock episode. Yeah. It felt like it was supposed to feel.
Well, what were those silly creatures up to this week? Well, Uncle Traveling Matt, the traveling creature, was actually a subway with people heading underground and waiting patiently. Well, as urban centers grew in like the 1800s, street congestion with like wagons and produce and things became an issue. So the first subway system was built in London in 1863. All of the trains were steam powered in underground tunnels. But by the early 1900s even, steam was replaced by early electric, with New York subway system being the earliest example in 1904. Since then, most major metropolitan areas worldwide have adopted a train or subway system of some sort. One of the largest, actually the largest, the Shanghai Metro system, hosts 10.5 million travelers every weekday.
Wow.
The Arsenalna station, it's in Ukraine, in Kiev, Ukraine, is the world's deepest. Its lowest, it is 346 feet underground.
Wow.
So more than a football field, an American football field underground.
Jeez.
And then Stockholm subway is referred to as the world's longest art gallery. 90 of its 100 stations feature murals, mosaics, sculptures, installations that rotate in and out. So there are entire tours of Stockholm that are based off of people riding the subway.
That's when you have good people pay taxes. You can afford stuff like that.
That's right. So, Jarman, what did you think was the best Muppeteering moment this week?
I'm going to give it to the plants, especially the moment with Wembley, where they're basically taking him completely over, and you can see Wembley's whole body in there. And then basically Boober knocks him out, and they must have had like the puppeteer like immediately stick their hand up in there to get control of Wembley again. So it was just very well coordinated, and you wouldn't really think about it, but that's not really a thing. It's just a puppet sitting there, and then a hand suddenly's up in there. So I like that. That was pretty cool.
Mine was, I really enjoyed Boober's musical number. Not only, we don't get to hear Dave Goelz really sing that often, and he really did a wonderful job with the number he was given. And then you add to that, I loved the effect with Boober sitting in like the 6 mirror setup.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like turning and looking at himself in the reflection, and then he actually rotated on the ground, which was a great effect. And then suddenly he was dancing with 5 of himself around a maypole. And I was like, wow, 5 boobers. And I could see how they did it. And they took other puppets and just dressed them up kinda. And but even that was great.
It took a lot of effort.
So I've got to give it to the Boober musical number.
Absolutely.
So, Jarman, what happened on this week's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation?
This time we have the Emissary. So we start off with the now famous crew poker game. I don't recall if this is the first time they've done it or not, but it happens throughout the show. With Data really struggling with the idea of bluffing, but it all gets interrupted when the Enterprise gets a surprise directive from Starfleet to rendezvous with a small probe that apparently has a diplomatic envoy on board the probe, which is really weird for them. But it turns out it's Kalar, a half-human, half-Klingon diplomat who seems to have a rocky past with Worf. Something's going on there. And their secret mission is apparently to meet up with a long-lost Klingon bird of prey whose crew has been in cryogenic sleep for 75 years, which takes us right back to the original series time period. And so when they wake up, they'll think that they're still at war with the Federation. So Kalar says they only have 2 options. They can get there before they wake up and keep them asleep until the Klingons arrive and can convince them that they are no longer at war with the Federation, or they arrive too late and they'll already be awake and they'll start attacking Federation crafts and colonies and they'll have to destroy them. Picard's like the diplomat. He's like, no, we'll find a different option. We don't have to kill them. We'll find something else out. So on their way to meet up with the bird of prey, and they're thinking of other options, Kalar tries to reconnect with Worf, because apparently they knew each other a long time ago, but he ain't having it. He's pissed at her for some reason. And so that pisses her off. So Troy suggests that she takes out her frustrations on the holodeck. And Kalar finds in the holodeck menu Worf's calisthenics training program. So she starts there and she starts beating up bad guys left and right. And Worf is pissed off by their conversation too, but he goes to the bridge and starts getting really aggressive and snapping at everybody. So Picard orders him to go relax and take it easy for a while because something's obviously up. So Worf goes off to the holodeck to do his calisthenics program, but Kalar is already there in his program. So they reluctantly start to work together to fight off the goons that are in there together at level 2. And Kalar kicks some serious ass, and that really turns Worf on. So they get caught up in the moment, and they start getting it on Klingon style. And they unfortunately cut away, so we can't see the big beatings they give each other. Do we see the holding of the hands and the blood? But after that, things get a little awkward between them because apparently in Klingon tradition, if you get it on, you have to get married. So he proclaims his love to her in Klingonese and that he will marry her. But she rejects him, reminding him that she's half human and this was just a fling. And he only wants to marry her because now he feels like he has to because of honor. So that gets really awkward between them. But then right then they arrive at the bird of prey. And they wonder if the crew's awake yet. But then it starts to fire on the Enterprise. Like, yep, they're definitely awake. So Kalar says they have to destroy them before it's too late. But Worf gets an idea. He pretends to be the captain of the Enterprise, and he hails the bird of prey, and he yells at the other Klingon captain and calls him a traitorous Klingon for firing on another Klingon vessel. The other Klingon captain doesn't believe him at first, but Worf threatens to blow them up for their insolence. So the other captain finally caves under the pressure, and they're going to send Kalar to board the vessel and wait with them until the present-day Klingons can arrive and then assimilate them into the new century. But before she beams away, her and Worf make up and have a tender moment, and he tells her that it wasn't just wanting to marry her because it was a matter of honor. He really has feelings for her. And she says she feels the same way and that maybe at some time in the future when the timing is better, they can further explore their relationship. And then we cut away to the credits. So Steve, what did you think of this episode?
Okay, so some things I liked, and there was a lot to like here. I'm not going to lie. The poker opening was great.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to see Pulaski give everyone shit, and Data play the dumb man. Like, all that was great. It was a great opening. We get more Klingon sort of lore and interactions, because the only other time that we have seen Worf interact with a female Klingon, there was some early episode, maybe with Q,
fake,
where one was materialized and they like growl at each other, and it's this weird moment, and that's what you think it is. So it was good to see that it was more than that.
Yeah.
Great Worf episode, which we have not gotten that many. great guest.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember her. Kalir or something. Kalar. The actress who played Kalar, who I'll talk more about later, did an incredible job.
Mm-hmm.
Kalar was one of the I can say she was the best female guest character that has ever come at this point.
Great actress.
And in the top 5 for any guest actor,
right.
I would say, on Next Generation so far. Well written. This is the only episode that I think we could ever make an argument for it passing the Bechdel test in all of Next Generation
So far.
But we're a good chunk in.
We're only season 2. We got 7 seasons.
We're a quarter of the way in. But Kalar and Troy, they're talking and relating about being half Betazoid, half human. And then it was on the other side, and her controlling her anger. No love interest was talked about.
That's true.
Nobody was doting on a guy. They related to each other. Like, it legit might be the first occasion thus far.
It was just a female bonding moment having nothing to do with Worf or Riker or anything
and
else.
Worf didn't even come up.
Yeah.
That was the best part. Oh my gosh. So I've got to give him credit for finally writing like a good female-led scene.
That's true.
Good for them. Someone finally did it.
He was a female writer for this episode.
I mentioned I was going through some of the older episodes, and there are so many moments in the original series where it's like, and then they don't let her for sexism reasons.
Yeah,
there's so much of that we talk about.
Oh yeah.
Great. I love the holodeck, the fight, and then it turning into like the love making thing. Good reveal for the Emissary when they did finally reveal her, because we've never seen a character like get onto the ship this way, really.
Oh yeah.
And I thought the ending solution was brilliant and very Star Trek-y in an episode that was all about like, well, we're gonna have to kill them,
right? And he's like, well, there's got to be a better way. And Worf gets to do the solution. It's his idea, which is great too.
And Worf and Kalar get to like embrace their Klingon side, which is a great semi-completion for their arcs within this episode. The dislikes list is so short that I literally just wrote like, nah, I'm good.
That's good.
This was a really good episode. It really was.
Yeah. And I think we're going to find that, like many of the podcasters I've done with in the past for Star Trek podcasts, you either end up loving Klingon culture or hating it, because right now it's all nice and new. But as we get farther in Next Generation, especially Deep Space Nine, man, there's a lot of Klingons. So I'm like, eventually I get sick of Klingon episodes, but why I like this so much is that she's half human, half Klingon, and they even address that directly with the scenes with Troy, where they're talking about fighting those 2 battles. So it isn't all about Klingon culture's episode. It's about people. It's about their relationship, and it wasn't about just Klingon culture. And so I really liked it. And yeah, Susie Plaxton, who plays the Klingon, oh my gosh, she's fantastic. I looked her up. She's 6'2". I was like, how tall is this woman?
They picked an imposing woman.
Yeah, she's actually 6'2".
Without a doubt.
She's your height. Are you 6'2"?
Yeah, I'm 6'2".
That's crazy. So yeah, fantastic casting. But yeah, just the scene with Worf taking over as captain was great. There was funny moments with Data trying to figure out, he's awkwardly standing there's a third wheel when they're arguing. And she's like, who do you find more ridiculous right now, the human side of things or the Klingon side? He's like, I couldn't guess.
You know what I genuinely liked at the end, and it was almost a reveal, but it was quick and subtle, was, Worf and Kalar are playing, to be in charge of the Enterprise. And then when Picard comes in, Worf turns back command. Right. So Worf was actually in command of the Enterprise.
That's true.
For that, he wasn't just playing. Jean-Luc turned over the ship to him.
So he could have made any executive decisions if he wanted to at that time.
If he needed to, what he thought was best. And I thought that was a great reveal.
Yeah.
They weren't playing. Worf was in charge.
It had to seem really real, and it was.
Yeah.
And also, like, him and Susie Plaxton, the Kalar, just seems so natural. It could have been, like you said, so bad if it was a bad guest star. but their friction felt totally real and totally natural. So it just made this episode. We didn't need a B plot. There wasn't a B plot really to speak of. I mean, there's the Klingons and then her relationship with Worf, I guess, are two plots, but they kind of all connect together. So it's all kind of one plot. But yeah, this is a high episode for season 2 so far, I think.
I would totally agree with that. Completely agree.
Mostly thanks to Susie Plaxton. She's awesome.
She did great.
So speaking of that, some Trek facts. Susie Plaxton had previously appeared, so we've seen her already before. In The Schizoid Man, she was the Vulcan Dr. Solar. If you look her up.
I know, I'm going to look it up because I don't remember.
I'm looking her up now, too. I don't know how she looks. Dr. Solar.
Oh, yeah. Just Lady Spock. They just made Lady Spock.
Yeah, that was her in the previous episode.
Okay.
So we've seen her already. When Kalar goes to the holodeck, the programs she pulls up on the menu are funny because it's scuba diving at Hanamua Bay, Earth, Klingon Rite of Ascension Chamber, which they've used in the previous episode before, calisthenics, Lieutenant Worf, Shikar Desert Survival, Vulcan, Carnival Celebration, Rio de Janeiro, Earth, racetrack at Longchamp, I think it was spelled Longchamps, France, Earth, and Dixon Hill, the Long Dark Tunnel, and Dixon Hill, the Black Orchard. Or Orchid.
Wow.
Orchid. So anyways, funny. The original story had Kalar being the product of a Vulcan mother and a Klingon father, but the editors felt that was too unrealistic that a Vulcan and a Klingon would ever mate. So
too opposite.
Yeah, humans maybe, not Klingons, no. Or yeah, Vulcans. Footage of the the Klingon battle cruiser was reused footage from the motion picture from 1979. They just added the disruptor and cloaking effects that were new. Otherwise, that was just footage from the old movie. Susie Plaxton, who plays Kalar, will also play a later episode of Voyager. She plays a character. And also a character on Enterprise later on. So 1996 and then 2003, she comes back as two different characters, probably all different makeup. I won't spoil. So
we'll get to see her again and again.
That's right. Yeah, look out for her face down in 10 years from now. We're at those episodes.
Oh my God.
We had
so long.
Two kind of famous late 90s, early 2000s actors who were...
I saw one of them.
Yeah, they weren't famous yet in this episode. Bit players Anne Ramsey, who played Ensign Clancy. She was at the stand doing the, piloting, basically. She had major success as Lisa Stemple in Mad About You. She was like the friend of the best friend of Paul, the Paul Reiser's character.
Yeah.
And then Diedrich Bader, who I was more familiar with, and I think Steven was too. He was the tactical crewman who didn't have a name. He went on to be Oswald Lee Harvey in the Drew Carey Show. So I forgot his name was Oswald Lee Harvey.
And also he plays Rex in Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
You will learn Rex Kwon Do. Break the wrist, walk away.
I forgot all about that. So yeah, those are our little Trek facts there. We got some Trek connections this time around.
Oh boy, do I. Kalar was played by Susie Plaxton. She was an actress in Star Trek Enterprise and Voyager. As we mentioned, we get to see her a few more times. She was in an episode of Murphy Brown with Muppet Show guest Candice Bergen. She is also the voice of Monica DeVerderay, a prominent side character in the upcoming Jim Henson's Dinosaurs that we'll watch at some point.
Very nice.
But she plays a recurring character in Jim Henson's Dinosaurs.
That's a direct connection right there.
Yeah, like real connection. Not even alive like normal. Captain Tamok. I love that they don't say the K's in front of any of these names. They literally, it's not even like a sub sound. It's just Captain Tamok.
The K
was played by Lance Legault. He was in an episode of Columbo, which featured Peter Falk, who had a nice cameo in The Great Muppet Caper.
Columbo's a great show, folks. Check it out.
Admiral Gromik was played by, I don't know how to say this name, Georgan or Jorgan?
I'm going to look at it.
Georgann. Georgan, I think.
That's Georgianne. That makes sense.
Georgianne Johnson. She was in 34 episodes of something called The Trials of Rosie O'Neill, which from what I can tell is something that kind of spawned off the popularity of Murder, She Wrote. This show also featured Ed Asner in 18 of its episodes, and he posthumously cameoed in Muppet Haunted Mansion.
Oh, gotcha.
And then tactical crewman Deirdre Bader who we mentioned from Drew Carey Show, he was a voice in Disney's movie Bolt, which starred John Travolta. And as we all know, John Travolta contributed a recipe to Miss Piggy's 1996 cookbook In the Kitchen with Miss Piggy. And John Travolta treated us to the knowledge of how to make lobster with 3 sauces.
Oh my God. What the hell?
Bam, I got them connects this week.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, that's there was some other one. I wish I could remember which one. There was another connection I found that was through Miss Piggy's cookbook. So I can't wait to see how many of these I find.
Just keep going back to her stupid cookbook.
Hey, if it's the thread that binds us all.
Well, the thread that binds these 2 episodes is very strong because they're so similar.
They're basically the same. I mean, both of them feature stories of long lost peoples. The 2 Fraggles who went missing in the Cave of Forgetfulness and the long lost Klingon sleeping ship.
Oh, that's perfect. Both feature places where a main character likes to go to blow off steam and get away from the rest of their people.
Okay.
Boober goes to the Cave of Boredom, and Worf goes to the holodeck for the calisthenics program to get away from the rest of the crew.
Like that. Both featuring the revisiting of old loves and old flames. Worf and Kalar and the storyteller Fraggle and Uncle Traveling Matt.
That makes sense. Both
Who
feature
definitely
characters.
got it on.
It apparently both did in a children's show. Both feature characters forgetting exactly what they were mad about. Boober, when he loses his memory in the Cave of Boredom and forgets why he's mad at the rest of the Fraggles. And Worf and Kalar, when they can't seem to remember or agree upon what really broke them up in the first place. They're like, I don't know why.
No one remembers.
It was your fault, right? No, it was your fault. I'm pretty sure. That's how it works. But, oh my God, I think I hear something.
Transporter malfunction. Transporter malfunction.
It's that part of the episode where we transport one character from one episode to the other and vice versa. So what you got for us, Steve?
Trek to Rock this week, I'm going to bring over the newly awakened Klingons and put them in the Cave of Forgetting. They would be equally confused about where and when they are, and they'd get all aggressive and mad and then forget why and then attack the Fraggles.
The Fraggles are done for unless the Gorgs come in. Similarly, I have from Trek to Rock, I have Kalar trade places with Boober. She'd get to the Cave of Forgetting, and she'd forget to control her Klingon side, like she talks about in the episode.
She'd go nuts.
But she'd be able to let loose and let off some steam. I think it'd be good for her to forget that she needs to control that, just for a little while. And then she'd kill all the Fraggles. Yeah.
I thought both of these end with, and then the Fraggles would just die.
All of them are dead.
Rock to Trek this week, I'm going to bring over the Doozers happily building their towers and replace the monsters in the holodeck. Worf and Lady Worf. I literally wrote Lady Worf because I couldn't remember her name while I was writing this guy. Kalar can destroy all the Doozer towers they want, and the Doozers would be so stoked to rebuild them over and over again. It would be the perfect marriage of society.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to have, in a similar way, Rock to Trek. I have the forgetful plants, the plants that make you forget the stuff. I'm going to transport them to the holodeck because it would just cause chaos because everyone who went to the holodeck and started a program would forget who they really are and just assume the fake world around them was their real world. And they just start assimilating into the program and never come out of the holodeck.
That's right.
It'd be amazing.
That's how the Borg really starts.
That's right. But that brings us to the end of episode 148 of the MuppeTrek Podcast with some good episodes, I think. Yeah.
That's right. Join us next time for Fraggle Rock episode, The Trash Heap Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
And the Star Trek Next Generation episode, Peak Performance.
So, from the lovers, the dreamers, and us.
Live long and prosper, everyone. Thanks for listening to the MuppeTrek Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter.
Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
This podcast has been brought to you by A Play on Nerds.